This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Welcome everyone, we're here on the eve of May 17th, 2017, which of course means it's time for another generous serving of video game fun. It is Party Loaded time. My name's Luke Ritalik, and as usual, I'm joined by our regular panel of party members for tonight's hopping. We have Ollie, welcome.
Hello, I'm back.
You are back?
Not from outer space.
No, I don't know the rest of the words to that song. We have Jam, hello.
Au revoir.
And Mimo, as well.
Hello. Did you just say goodbye, Jam? Did I?
Yes.
I don't know. We have Jam. See, I wasn't prepared. I'm like, how do I say it differently? And I didn't.
That would have been a pretty epic mic drop. It would have been like, yeah, hi, I'm here. Out of here, you
Jam
fools.
has disconnected from the call.
Yeah.
Jam out. Yeah.
Nice.
I told you.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
want to play Persona.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, it's been a week. Welcome back, Ollie. You missed us last week and got to see some cool Hans Zimmer action. So how was the show?
I didn't miss you. Sorry. Because Hans Zimmer was fucking amazing. If anyone has the chance to go see Hans Zimmer while he's doing his tour anywhere in the world, do yourself a favor and go. If you don't know who Hans Zimmer is, punch yourself in the face and then Google him.
When you can see the keys again. Absolutely. Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Well, I mean, that aside, what other gaming action has been crossing your plate in the last couple of weeks?
I have finally finished Outlast 2.
Huh.
So I can now deliver a full verdict on the game.
Okay.
And my verdict is, it's better than the first one.
That's
Official
a
verdict.
re-endorsement.
Solid.
Yeah. So this isn't a spoiler at all. So the main plot line is hillbilly monster Christian cult and hillbilly monster pagan cult. And they're basically fighting over you and your beloved.
Aww.
And there's another plot, which is a flashback plot, which is infinitely more interesting than the hillbilly murder plot cult thing. And yeah, I wanted a game of just that. Just a game of that. And then the game did something, which I didn't like Stories Untold for doing, by basically going, you're a terrible person. Here's why you're a terrible person. Watch yourself being a terrible person. You're like, really, game? Really? You didn't just have to tell me, you have to show me? Thanks. Appreciate that. But I do like that it doesn't answer every question. I don't mind that. Some people will find that incredibly frustrating. I don't mind it so much. A few more answers would have been nice. But it suffered from the same problem for me as the first Outlast, which was anytime you are doing an escape sequence, like there's a monster behind you or a baddie and you have to run away sort of thing, and you stuff it up and you die, the reset loses all tension of that chase scene. It just breaks it completely. And I don't know yet how games can get around that. So much my voice broke. The other thing was it got to the point where enemies are annoying and not scary. You're like, I just want to know what the story is. Stop chasing me. Fuck's sake. All right, I'll do some parkour. Okay, here we go. All right. And it's just like, oh, God damn it. Why are you still after me? Just go away. Go away. I want to get to the next story bit. Go away. And the first Outlast had the exact same problem. So I don't know if it's a genre thing, but yeah. I enjoyed it, don't be wrong.
Reminds me a little bit of, the feeling of tension and fear that ratchets up when you played the old Resident Evil Nemesis, like when Nemesis busts through a wall and sort of surprise you and stuff like that. Because, you get caught once by it and then it's literally just, save scumming until you can pass that section because it's just really hard combat, essentially. Yeah.
And it breaks the tension of, oh God, there he is. Now it's like, sup, yep, you're a Kool-Aid man. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, I guess the only way they could sort of work around that sort of thing would be to, I guess, either make it that you don't die, which maybe takes a bit of the fear and tension away if there's no risk, which is a tricky one, or alternatively, they could make it so that the same thing doesn't necessarily happen again, so randomize it a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the only thing I could think of, is if they randomize it slightly, but then that you can't do that with deliberately scripted events.
True. Yeah. It's very difficult.
Things where you have to get the plot in a certain way, sort of deal. And that these games do that a lot. They go, oh, you have to run to this next part of the plot, or you have to escape from this thing that just happened in the plot. So, I don't know. It was enjoyable. I did like it. I wasn't like, oh, I have to play this game. Boo hoo hoo. What a waste of money. But it definitely had its faults. So, yeah, overall I enjoyed it, and it clearly sets up a DLC. And I'm like, seriously, game, I see what you did there.
Nice.
But I'd buy the DLC, put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. As far as the story goes, I have heard from a couple of people that apparently there's a note, which is like a bit of a plot reveal device somewhere in the game that you don't necessarily find. Like it's something you have to look for, and if you do locate it, it explains a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah,
there is that.
Cool.
So, I should also say, really cool link to the first game. I did like their link to the first game.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Well, Injustice 2 came out this week, but I don't think any of us played that one just yet, even though it does look kind of cool. So, I mean, personally, I've been ploughing along with a bit more Prey. That game is still very, very good, despite what certain 4 out of 10 reviewers would have you believe. So, I just want to rant about this for a second, because holy fuck, IGN, what the fuck? Just, yeah. If there was never a stronger argument for why review scores are broken and should not be done in this day and age, it is things like that. So, long story short, Dan Stapleton, one of the IGN reviewers, basically gave Prey a 4 out of 10 after basically giving it a very positive review in the sort of text comments section of his review, but gave it a really, really low score because there was a game-breaking bug that kept on screwing up his save files. And, interesting situation, that one. I think it's sort of, again, the whole game review debate has exploded this week about, should reviewers' scores change after, games have been patched and all that sort of stuff. And, Bethesda's review policy has also been another point of contention, with them only making the game available to reviewers sort of, immediately upon release rather than early, like a lot of other companies do. It's been really, really interesting. But, without getting bogged down in the minutiae of all that debate, I would like to say, from my perspective, this game is certainly not a 4 out of 10. It is way, way fucking better than that. So...
It's at least 4.5, right?
No.
See,
I'm not even going to put it on.
You gave it 4 out of 10, but you still bought the game. So, look, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Bethesda will be just fine. I don't think they're that concerned about one review.
No, well, there's also an argument to be had as to whether reviews after someone has purchased the game are actually worthwhile, and I think they are. It's not just sort of, purchase confirmation. People often like to see what other people's perspectives on the game are, even if they've made that purchase already. Game reviews aren't just to confirm purchase decisions, they're also to provide interesting and informative discussion about, the substance of games, and that's the kind of thing that I like looking at. And it kind of annoys me when people see stuff like that and think, oh, it's a bad game because someone assigned an arbitrary number to it when it's actually not at all.
Well, not if they read the article. I think they would understand the 4.
Exactly.
And he doesn't explain it.
Yeah, and that's
your
the take
issue is if the people who just look at scores and go, it's no good, and the people you're talking about who read reviews aren't those people. So I see what you're saying, but if you read if all the other scores are 8 and you see one that's 4, are you going to look at the 4 and go, well, there's 10 other 8s, but 4's the one I'm going to trust? You're going to read the article.
I'll probably have the same complaint if it was a case of the words within the article contradicting themselves. Because to me, the score is just part of the article. Like if it was a passage saying, this game is awesome because of all these reasons, and then a passage saying, this game is the worst game I've played this year because of all these reasons, I'd be like, really? That kind of just contradicts what you just wrote. So, which is it? Can you be consistent here? And to me, it reads the same sort of way when you have a number assigned to it at the end. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, people who, use review scores, it's kind of like a reader beware situation. People will use them no matter what. You can't say don't look at the score because people do. It's just human nature.
Also, he has journalistic integrity in order to represent his experience as well. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying I agree, and I think it was a shitty it was a difficult article to read.
If you're going to make a quick perfunctory decision based on a score, you're also the type of person who's going to be pissed and return the game if there's game-breaking bug in it. So
yeah, the bug's an interesting point though. It wasn't particularly widespread issue. Like it was reported in the very minority of cases. So
but it wasn't isolated. It wasn't just him.
Yeah,
it was the game. It wasn't his computer or setup or anything else. It was a problem with the game.
Yeah,
and they fixed it and they supported it. And he said that, but he said, look, they still at this stage he still wasn't able to go past a certain point. So for him, that was his review.
Yeah,
and I think there's a converse argument, which is reviewers also aren't there just if he enjoyed the game to say, well, it's 8, but, I also had this bug, which means I can't play, most of the game.
Yeah.
People would be tearing him down for that as well, but just you wouldn't notice his review necessarily as a result.
No. I don't think any of us would disagree that review scores are, somewhat broken and, that's at least part of the issue here, but... take it for what it is. People can make up their own minds. There's certainly plenty of other articles out there that will sort of, extol the virtues of the game in different ways. So I just encourage everyone to, read up and don't sort of just look in one place if you do care about that kind of thing. But I mean, without getting bogged down to a big debate about it, because it is a pretty big topic, the game is very, very good. Like, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. There are a couple of minor bugs in it, but nothing I've encountered has been gameplay derivative. Like, it hasn't really sort of messed up the way that you approach the game in a bug sort of sense. There is one balance patch that they need to make, though, and this is a kind of important one that I discovered during the week. There is a balance issue with the in-game crafting. So one of the things, as I explained last week, that you do when you're sort of roaming around Talos 1, the base, is you're picking up a whole bunch of sort of mundane items around the place, like whether it's banana peels or trash or bits of scrunched up paper, cigar butts, that sort of stuff. You can sort of put those through a recycling machine and actually break them down to their constituent parts to use as raw crafting materials. Now, there is a bit of an issue with the game at the moment where those crafting materials sort of come in stacks, and if you break up those stacks and send them through the recycler again, if you put them in, I think it's 4 stacks is what triggers this to happen, it actually produces an output of more material than what you put into the machine in the first place. And so someone who wanted to really sort of break the game could just continue feeding those materials through the recycler and just gradually build up their resources to the point where, crafting becomes a non-issue because you've got infinite resources, essentially. So it would take a while to do that, and it would be extremely annoying, and someone would really have to go at it to achieve that. But it's totally possible if someone wanted to, have infinite ammo or something like that, because you can kind of manufacture those things in the game. So, I suspect that that'll be balanced out real soon, and I hope they do, because it's a bit of a silly thing to have in there. But I did discover one thing this week, which even if I had have elected to attempt that, would have actually stopped me dead in my tracks. The in-game sort of skill tree upgrades that you get from installing the neuromods, which are kind of like your skill points in a way. I was thinking, because you can actually manufacture these neuromods using the sort of in-game crafting, I thought, well, with this resource sort of balance issue, someone could theoretically go in and just craft enough resources to create infinite neuromods and just like skill up their entire skill tree and, basically be superpowered and get through the game that way. But the game's really clever because after you manufacture a certain number of those neuromods, it actually shuts down the license for the neuromod sort of blueprint and forces you to actually complete a story quest to go and unlock that again. So that was kind of cool. That was an interesting little way to sort of slow down anyone's accelerated progression. And I'm not sure if... It actually made me question whether all this stuff was intentional or not. I don't think it is, but it may be an unintentional gating system to stop people from, I guess, jumping too far ahead with their progression unwittingly, which was kind of cool. So... But yeah, game's still super fun. I'm probably about another 10 to 12 hours in than I was last week, so I've still got a decent chunk of game to go. I think I'm probably about maybe 3/4 of the way through, so I'll report a bit more on that when I progress a bit further. But I've got most of the big weapons now, so combat is actually a thing, and quite a bit of the story is playing out to the point where I'm going to have to make some decisions soon, because I can see immediately there's going to be a few different ways to end this game. So yes, we will see. Speaking of different ways to end a game, Jam, how's your persona-ing going? Is that
good.
Been some progress since last time? Yeah.
There has. I had a couple of weeks off, and the last couple of weeks I've had a bit of time. So it's no longer the theme music playing 24/7 in my head. It's just, the occasional feature. It's amazing. The game continues to surprise me. It's so good. In-game, I'm nearly at November, and I've just been introduced to, I want to say the 5th palace.
Oh.
Possibly the 6th. I'm pretty sure it's the 5th. And it just keeps, I don't know, getting more interesting.
I'm at the 4th, and you know where I'm at. If that gives you a goalpost,
a
meter stick.
I'd be the 6th. I've lost track.
What month does the game end on, do you know?
No, and I don't want to know. Do not look that up and tell me.
No, I do not want to know.
Slap you.
I guess what I was asking is the whole game a calendar year or something like that? But it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Approximately.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, based on the Japanese school system, I think. So I just finished some exams. I scored top of the class. I've even recently just been introduced to a new confidant. So they're still introducing characters and things. And for a while there, I was, rather confident with my time management and the way I was skilling up or forming closer relationships with people. But now everything is upside down, turned to shit. I've got no idea what I'm doing next, and I feel like I'm running out of time, and I don't have enough time to do everything I want, and there's all these people I want to make good friends with, but I'm probably not going to be able to, and I'm just so
Well, at least you can go down back and do the playback, whatever it's called.
The New Game Plus, that's something I learned about in the last week. It sounds fantastic. So once you've completed the game, you can go back and you can start with all of your personas, all of your social skills leveled to the point that you'd leveled them, and your items, but all of your confidant relationship statuses get reset.
With your social skills up, that would be a quicker process though, wouldn't it?
It would. It really would, because there's little lock points in a number of them that require you to have certain social skills at a certain level.
Okay.
So, yeah. Originally I thought, how could I ever replay this game? It would just be sort of same. But now knowing that,
it plays to your collect all the things jam.
It does.
So I was surprised that you even second guessed yourself. I definitely won't do a second playthrough, but I can't see a world in which you won't.
I'm sure I will one day. I mean, and you know me in my memory too. I'll move on to another game. I'll forget all of the details, and I'll start again and go, oh yeah, and be just surprised and delighted.
I would
all
be
over
super
again.
keen to watch you while you play that second playthrough. I will watch you replay the game, but I'm not playing it again. Stuff that.
Yeah, it's more of an economy of time sort of dilemma, isn't it? It's not a lack of enjoyment of the game. It's just
I would much rather have bonding time with Jam than replay the game, but I can do both.
Yay! So yeah, I'm loving it. I can't say any more. Although one of my suspicions.
Oh, Jam, don't you be a Luke.
That's
don't
it.
you do it.
Don't bring me into this.
Jam.
That's it. Now maybe Imogen will start playing again.
Oh no, it's not that I don't want to play,
I know.
guys, honestly.
I know,
I'm
it's
nearly
time
there.
whore.
I nearly have a month off. I'm so excited. So my update on gaming is I have not played any games.
Yeah.
Well, I have, but either you guys hear about them all the time, or it's the game of the month, so you don't want to hear about that yet.
Yeah. Yes, Mimo, being a responsible adult, has limited her playtime to the old faithfuls, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curse Imogen from 2-3 years ago, whenever she decided that study was a grand plan. I tell you what. Not that I regret studying, but I definitely will think twice before committing myself to exams as an adult.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, you're only
much.
putting gaming on hold temporarily. It will be, only a pause
I'm learning
thing.
the business so that one day perhaps I can apply the business to the video games.
Exactly.
Woohoo!
Speaking of things that are on hold, this news came out round about when we recorded last week, but details weren't really confirmed. Unfortunately, we have news that BioWare Montreal is been asked to refocus their attention on other projects and restructuring a little bit, which doesn't look good for the future of the Mass Effect Andromeda world. How do you Mass Effect fans feel about this? I'm fairly neutral, having never played a Mass Effect game before in my life.
I think I'm going to remain neutral because I have not put much time into the new one still.
Yeah, true.
Still sad though.
I don't think that second Andromeda will not happen, basically.
No,
it's too much of a cash cow.
Exactly. I think it'll eventually happen. It feels to me like BioWare are just like the Eye of Sauron. Like, we'll focus on this thing and then we'll focus on that thing. And they're just trying to be economical in a very tough time.
Okay.
Oh, God.
They're just focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I would much rather
And then
I would
sending
much rather.
Nazgul to attack people.
Sure.
They're very similar. That's true.
That's a great analogy for what Mass Effect Andromeda was before the patch.
It's true.
The screams were audible.
No, the interesting sort of full circle aspect of this whole thing too is that I'm pretty sure that BioWare Montreal was actually created way back in the day for supporting some of the original Mass Effect DLC. So that's how the whole studio wing came about in the first place. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they're not being sort of I mean, we haven't heard news of a whole bunch of people being made redundant or anything like that. It looks like they've been retasked to other projects. They're sort of moved around. So
They've been shuffled.
Yeah, which is okay. I mean, whenever a big project finishes and they've got other stuff on the books currently, that's not an unsurprising thing.
Yeah.
It does sort of maybe indicate that they didn't have the wheels spinning to launch into, Mass Effect Andromeda 2 development immediately. But I agree with Ollie. It's not to say that it's not going to happen at some point. I think, a pause may be a good thing in this case to sort of reassess where things are at. So
I also
fix
think
their
it's
fucking
just,
engine.
Yeah, it's just an indication of the times. Like, we're getting more and more news now from inside the world of the developers, and I wouldn't think this sort of thing would be unusual. It happens everywhere. You retask according to what your strategic priorities are, and obviously they released a game, and it just means that they're not going to follow up next year with a new game, guys. Just everyone's going to have to chill for just a little bit. Yeah, but if you want to pew stuff in space, you can just do Star Wars Battlefront 2, which will be produced by some of the same studio. So that would be good. I mean, that's what you get instead. It's a consolation prize.
The important note here is that Andromeda is not by any length a bad game. It is a good game that suffered greatly by being under-polished and has suffered massively under the immense weight of expectations that the franchise brings. So,
huge expectation.
It just needed 10 more days in the oven, guys. Just 10 more days.
Basically, yeah.
Other news that's a bit disappointing is Square Enix have dropped the Hitman developer IO Interactive, which was a bit of a shock. Halfway through the series, now I don't know a lot, but I know that it's episodic, and I know that it's been going really well. Like, some really big fans of the franchise are saying that they are actually really enjoying this, despite thinking or worrying that it was going to be a bit weird being an episodic.
Yeah.
So,
well, because it's Hitman, it
crying
raises a
into your
bunch
coffee
of
there, Luke.
questions. Well, yeah, I am. Hitman is a fucking awesome game. Like the new episodic Hitman. If you've not played this game yet, folks, you need to check it out. It is really, really good. So I think the issue with it is that when you look at a game like Hitman and a franchise like Hitman, it's not just the games that sort of spin the coins in the coffers. Like that, they've had various movie deals with the IP as well. And if they maybe took a hit and underperformed, that could have factored into how profitable the franchise was. Like, I know that the most recent film with Rupert. I want to say Rupert Grint, but I know that's not who I'm talking about. Rupert Friend. It's not fucking Ron Weasley. Anyway. Can you imagine him as Hitman?
That would be amazing.
That would be the best. Someone make that mod.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, if those films sort of underperformed and the money that IO Interactive were expecting to sort of make with that, maybe it was a factor. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But I guess the other thing too is
wild speculation appears.
Yeah. I mean, the Hitman game that was released last year was originally going to be a full released title. It was going to be, it's going to have its shelf price. It was going to be distributed as like a once-off thing. This episodic model that they went with, I think, ended up being much better for the quality of the game, and especially the DLC sort of support that they've given it after the fact with all of the elusive targets and all that good stuff. But whenever you release anything like that, you've always got this drop-off after the initial sort of release. Like, you buy the first chunk of this game for a set amount. I think it might have been $15 US or something like that. And then you have the content sort of add-ons in addition to that. And there is always, for almost any product of this nature, going to be a diminishing return on how many people pick up those subsequent sort of chunks. So they're not maybe necessarily making as much money as if they had have released it as a single game, but by the same token, maybe they made more by the positive sort of impact of the press it got because of that release sort of model. I actually don't know, but for whatever reason, it's underperformed to their expectations. It doesn't mean that it's been unsuccessful as a game, because I think it could be argued that all the press that it got last year was pointing in the complete opposite direction. It was called out as being a sleeper hit. But it depends on what their expectations were in the first place.
My goodness, Luke. Am I going to have to roll natural 20 on Dex to avoid all this speculation, or what?
I don't know. I mean, it's sometimes just, helpful to talk through the issues. But I think what everybody wants who has a vested interest in Hitman is they want to see Hitman Series 2. And they have announced that they are working on that. Whether that continues now, whether it's, IO Interactive sells off the Hitman franchise to another company as part of that Square Enix sort of deal, we don't know. So it's
I think they were looking for other funders. That's where they're at currently.
I would be very surprised if Hitman as a franchise gets shelved, particularly where it's left off. I think someone will probably pick it up. The most likely outcome is going to be a delay of some sort while this development's going on.
Agreed.
Yeah. Speaking of speculation, we are heading into the season of speculation before the mid-June when we see E3. We are now on a course for just announcements for announcements, people. So get used to it. Strap on in. Big news that came out today was Ubisoft? I hate saying Ubisoft. Ubisoft came out and announced a bunch of sequels and nexts in their universe for their fiscal year ending end of March 2018. Far Cry 5 is scheduled for release before April.
Apparently, it might be set in Montana, I'm hearing. Interesting.
Those wild speculations, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Have some speculation remover. There's also some more launches that we're expecting this year, which we'll probably see at E3, being the Assassin's Creed game, which we mentioned last week, the much anticipated South Park, The Fractured But Whole, which still isn't
so
out.
Great.
Yeah, it's not whole yet.
The crew, it's really not whole. Needs 10 more months in the oven. The Crew 2 as well is supposed to be releasing, saying this in the this fiscal year ending 2018. So that'll be interesting to see all those announcements. The Crew is sort of an open world racing game. The first iteration of it was in 2014. So I don't know if this is a Forza challenger, but we'll see. I'm actually looking forward to that. I was reading all about it just before and actually quite interested in a new racing game. I haven't picked up Forza yet. Maybe the Crew 2 will be where it's at. If it's slated, it's still Ubisoft, so they could say 2018 and I could still be talking about this in 2019. You never know.
Yeah, they haven't had a massive year, though, the old Ubisoft. I mean, since The Division, there hasn't been any massive hits that you can really speak of. They've had, Watch Dogs.
They were expecting South Park to be released.
Yeah,
so.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any huge AAAs that we've discussed in very positive, glowing terms on the show in quite some time that have come from Ubisoft. So yeah,
I mean, if the South Park game can come out by all accounts and initial looks, it's supposed to be very good. But we've said this before: as long as they do it right, I don't mind. I don't mind waiting for games as long as they're done right. What I don't think Ollie will even be able to contain himself to wait for is that apparently we are going to be getting The Witcher Netflix TV series based on the books, and I don't know much about the books at all. So, Ollie, what are we thinking? What is the wild speculations in terms of The Witcher?
As in, what do I think they're going to do with it?
Yeah. Are you excited? I mean, the excitement is palpable. I can hear it in your voice.
Hear it.
Super pumped.
Audible excitement.
I just set you up for a great intro and then just flat.
Yeah, I am just Captain Jaded. That actually puts into context the Hans Zimmer concert then, because I got excited as fuck over that. Yeah, for me, I'm very curious what stories they pick, because The Witcher is a very morally grey setting. It's very rarely black and white, these are good guys, these are bad guys, which would make for some very interesting TV viewing, because a lot of series now are going that way with we like this guy, but he's done some pretty shady stuff, but this guy's also done some pretty shady stuff, so which one's actually in the right? Which I think now that
Game of Thrones
tone,
conundrum.
yeah, well, now that tone is a bit more accepted as storytelling-wise on television, I think it's going to be a better received as a result. But I'm very curious what story or stories that they pick from the novels to do, actually. Because there's a lot. There's a lot they can pick from.
Well,
They don't even have to look at the novels. They could just go off the computer games if they wanted to as well, which are based off the books. I know, nerds, but there's differences.
Yeah. There's a lot of material there to mine.
There's so much material to mine.
Address your complaints to Ollie1234 Internet Street.
Yeah, and I'll promptly delete them.
Ollie, here's the all-important question, though. Who would you like to see play Geralt of Rivia?
Matt Mercer. Internet.
Yeah.
Google Matt Mercer Geralt Halloween costume, and you will agree with me. He could do the voice, the whole lot. I'm down. I'm starting a campaign. I'm gonna do one of those, I don't know, online poll things that I'll get people to sign. What are they called? Petition. There we go.
Yeah.
Jan will sign it.
Got
I'll
there in
sign
the
it.
end.
Well, I've got a couple of names
got
I'll
there
throw at you, and
eventually.
tell me what you think of these two. One in particular, I think, Ollie, you might be down with. What about we give this role to old Mads Mikkelsen? Could you see that?
I could see it. I don't think he'd work as it though.
Okay.
I was thinking
No.
maybe Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, he'd be
could
good.
see.
Oh, he'd be pretty great
Or
too.
what about Nikolaj
Like, see, that's-
Coster-Waldau, the guy who plays Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones? He'd be quite interesting as well.
He could. He could.
Maybe?
Nicolau Costa. I forgot the
Waldo,
last
yeah.
part. Yep.
I'm tempted to say Jared Butler, but I think he might be a bit too
Oh God, yes.
not suave enough.
Yeah.
No, he's not. And from what I've seen, and this is just based off video game. From what I see, it needs to be someone who's a bit fairer. I think in terms of like, I guess they could bleach his hair. I don't know what he'd look like with blonde, grey hair.
Yeah, it needs to look
They got a
little
big
bit-
name. Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
See Tom Hardy being a decent Geralt.
Tom Hardy could probably do it. He could pull it off.
But
Oh, no,
I would love
Netflix
Mads
afford
Mikkelsen.
these people? Yeah.
If Mads Mikkelsen would get on that, I would probably jizz my pants in happiness.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd be the best choice as far as like just purely aesthetic, not as an acting ability, pure aesthetic. If they did like an older Geralt, like later on in the timeline or something, totally down with it. So I guess it depends where they set it in his life, actually.
Maybe he could play one of the
Older
other
one?
witches
Definitely.
that sort of factor into the story.
Oh, he'd be an amazing, like, just put him on anything. I love him as an actor.
Yeah.
Well, given that I don't know the story, wouldn't you be hoping for it to be further earlier in the story and therefore more series of it? Because if it's later,
No, because they can
then-
always do flashbacks. Because one of the things is him figuring out past events from his life.
Yeah, it's a pretty common trope with
you could
Witcher.
have a series 3, but series 3 is a prologue to series 1.
Sure,
Yes.
that's a thing.
We're gonna Star Wars this shit.
Fucking yeah.
No, it seems to be more like the
no
flashback
midichlorians.
type thing they do with like Arrow, where they flash back to
Yeah.
Oliver Queen on the island kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of mirrors what's going on
Exactly.
in the present.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally down with
Except
that.
he looks super weird when they try and make him look younger on the island. It's not a grand look. Anyway,
Moving on.
The exciting news that came out about the reveal of a new Zelda title actually held more interesting news for me than the new Zelda title. So the new Zelda is being released for
Zelda.
smartphones, but I found out when I was reading the article today that so they're going to have Legend of Zelda. It's in development, but it'll be a while off because it's got to come after the upcoming Animal Crossing smartphone title. And I went, Animal Crossing on iPhone? Hells yes!
And Mima was never seen again.
I'm gonna collect all of the shoes, shoes and hats. No,
Oh,
but
fuck, that
it
game.
will be really cool if they do Legend of Zelda well on the phone. I think that will be really good. I mean, things like Super Mario Run, which kind of a little bit. I know, Luke, you really enjoyed that game.
I had a shelf life for sure. Like I hit a wall with that game where I was just like, okay, cool. I had a lot of fun with this game, but now I realize that it probably wasn't great. So, yeah.
Yeah, and to buy the premium game, it got to $10. I don't know that a lot of people sort of picked that up, but I didn't follow it afterwards, so I'll have to look up those details. But obviously Pokemon Go as well. So Nintendo really making a huge play in the sort of the mobile arena, which is really unusual because if you had asked me 2 years ago who would be the first person to sort of break their own sort of hold on a console-only IP, it would not have been Nintendo that I would have chosen.
No, they resisted
So-
for a long time.
Yeah, so they, held off and worry over obviously cannibalizing their DS titles doesn't seem to be, because they're still making very different. It's not the same game that's available on your phone and your iPad and your DS. They're distinct games. But yeah, Animal Crossing on smartphone, how did I miss that one?
It may actually surprise you to learn that I'm actually a little bit more excited for Animal Crossing on phones than I am for Zelda. So, just because...
Is that just so your boys can be focused on something other than Pokemon?
Fuck no, I'm not buying them smartphones. Get out of here. No.
You put it on an iPad, surely?
The reason being is because I love Zelda, but I don't think it's a game that could be done justice on an iPhone game. Like, I think they'd probably go for something that's a bit more Hyrule Heroes-y as opposed to like an actual Zelda adventure, which would be a shame because I think that's what... Like, to put this in perspective, if Nintendo announced that they were doing a Metroid smartphone game before they announced a new main console Metroid game, I would be fucking up in arms. I would be really, really angry about that. So,
You would have your little placard ready.
I would have
You'd
my
be
pike.
out the front of some Nintendo distributor in Perth
Yeah.
who does not give a crap.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
marching up and down the street.
They're basically just banking on the name. Is essentially what they're doing. So as long as it's a
Pretty
great
much,
game, fine.
I'm going to continue to play devil's advocate in this podcast and say that if Animal Crossing is out in the later half of 2017 and Zelda is being developed, after that, so let's say another year, can you imagine where smartphones will be in a year and a half?
Oh, well, there'll be no headphone jacks in any of them.
Nintendo Switch now on the Optus network. You wait. You wait. People will be making phone calls on their Switch in no time. This is the future, people. And maybe it'll have a hover function that you can just click and jump on your Switch and zoom off to work.
Oh, no.
The rate at which smartphone technology is accelerating, and also games on smartphone is really sort of taking off. Not just because I have a vested interest in crap iOS games. But I think it's where a lot of the market is, and they're listening. But it is a bit of a worry. It's a little bit of a Super Mario Run situation. I feel like it's coming up. Now, I'm a little bit reticent to introduce this, but I am excited. But I am excited because I am getting a little bit more into Hearthstone, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the features that's been announced, one of the things, I don't know enough about Hearthstone to talk about it nearly as long as Luke can, so it's fine,
I'll
guys.
hold you to that.
So, and the way I talk about it, it's hilarious. Well, not really, just to me. The new announcement that came out included a really cool feature, which means that I can now play all my quests by bugging Luke to play with me, which is infinitely more fun than having my butt handed to me by strangers.
We had a really good one this last week, actually, where both of us got the 80 gold for challenging a friend quest at the exact same time. So we played each other and just raked it in. It was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume you won because I don't remember me winning.
No, we won.
I'm assuming I would have remembered if I beat you.
We got one each.
I did?
Yeah.
Hooray!
Yep.
I beat Luke, guys.
There was actually an opportunity in the first game we played for me to force a draw. Like, there was actually a card I was going to play that would killed us both at the same time, but you got me before I got it off, so it was, potentially going to be real funny. But no, it was
Are we not doing phrasing anymore? Or?
No.
Didn't want to say anything.
Always gets me off.
Didn't want to say anything.
But there's other features coming as well, which I'm not as excited about.
Still
but
phrasing.
Did you want to go into that?
Well, yeah, I'll explain why this is a good thing, because I think you will actually find use for it. So the first thing is that Hearthstone last year actually did an event, I think it might have been one of the weekly tavern brawls, where they actually allowed you to complete your regular daily quests by challenging a friend. That's usually restricted to playing people normally on the ladder or sort of casual sort of link-up games. You normally can't complete your quest by playing friends, because I think they were worried about exploitations where you sort of, throwing games essentially just to get your quest done. And you still can't do that with earning your regular gold for winning games, but they're opening it up now so that you can actually complete quests by playing your friends. There's a couple of exceptions to that, like you can't do the spectate a match quest by playing a friend, because obviously that requires you to spectate. You don't need to do that anyway, so that doesn't make a difference. But everything else you will be able to, so that's pretty cool. So I think it would be actually really useful for people like yourself, Imogen, who maybe don't have all of the really popular sort of meta cards, that instead of sort of throwing yourself into the meat grinder on the ladder to try and get your quests done, you could actually just play a few more casual games with someone you know to try and knock them out. So I think that's actually quite a good thing. But the other big one, and this is probably the biggest one, is that they're adding a feature to Hearthstone that actually allows you to import and export deck lists. Now, this is huge. So basically what people have been doing up until now is they've been image sort of snapshotting, their deck lists and I guess exporting them to websites or social media just by sort of saving that picture. But what is actually happening now is there's going to be a button in Hearthstone where you can actually export a deck list to Windows clipboard, and then you can copy that into the game again in a different format. So like if you wanted to copy a deck list so you can duplicate it and make some changes, you can do that. If you wanted to use one of your regular deck lists in a tavern brawl where they actually force you to create a new list, then you can just export it and import it straight into that. But given that that's now something that you can import directly from clipboards, I don't think it's going to be long before a lot of the major sites that actually have the deck lists up that people are sort of sharing start publishing it in this format where you can literally just copy and paste it straight into the game. So that is really, really awesome. So, you find a cool deck you want to try out, you don't have to sort of go and drag every card into it, manually. Now you'll be able to just sort of hit a button and import it straight into your game. But the cool thing is if you're actually missing any of the cards to make that list, the game is going to treat it like the deck recipes do, where if you're making a list and you're missing a couple of cards, they'll sort of appear grey and you'll be able to click on them and suggest alternatives. So really, really nifty new feature. So yeah, big fan of that. Good job. One of those things we didn't expect, but I think everyone's going to like quite a bit. So there you go.
Yeah, they're just making it easier to play, and to be honest, they really kind of do for the casual side. Was getting a bit complex. So if people can download and install their own decks to have a go,
yeah,
I'll certainly, maybe not yours, maybe Christian's, but give them a go.
Oh, his decks are a lot greedier than mine in terms of use of the legendary cards. Let me tell you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to actually have those cards, I guess, to be able to create those decks.
True.
I'm going to take us on a bit of a serious note now. There is well, it's important.
I was about to give you a drum roll, but then I realised that would be wholly inappropriate, so please go on.
Totally inappropriate. So we're going to talk about health, guys, your health and your mental health.
Ah, shit.
We mentioned an organisation called Checkpoint a little while ago because they were doing a survey on people who played video games and how that either helps them or they feel that helps them with their mental health or their ability to relax, etc. That research is still continuing, but they have also now launched a Kickstarter to fund a 16-part web series that will focus on mental health and mental health issues and help those affected by using sort of video game and pop culture and things that are a little bit easier and more accessible ways to break down what is a very serious subject. Now, if you look for them on Kickstarter, you will see them under the Checkpoint series if you search for it. Some really alarming stats are actually on that mental health issues are the single biggest cause of disability in young people and one of the biggest causes of death for people under 30. And of those affected, 2 in 3 will never seek help or treatment. A majority of the time that is because it's either seen to be too expensive or stigmatized or they don't know. Now, when these sorts of things happen, the reason and a lot of what Checkpoint does is recognize that a lot of the people in this age bracket and also people with these issues, but I feel I can't speak to anyone, will Google or search the symptoms, and perhaps a web series like this, if people could access it on the internet, will be able to help those people understand what's happening with them and help them and encourage them to seek further help and put them in contact with people. So it really is quite a critical resource. They're looking for $55,000 as of Wednesday evening. They're at $24,000 with 16 days to go. There is lots of information on the website. Checkpoint, of course, is founded by
Dr. Jennifer Hazel?
Jennifer Hazel. I was going to call her Hazel. I was like, that's her last name, not her first name. So Dr. Jennifer Hazel found it. She's got a live Q&A that she actually did this evening, which you can re-watch, where you can ask her questions about the series and why it's important. Obviously, this is something that I'm pretty passionate about. I am a backer, and I'm really keen to see what's going on. The backing rewards are pretty cool. You can get online supporter pins and access to the series when it comes out. They've got quite a few interesting people involved because there's quite a good network of people who are really interested in taking part. They've got Josh Scher from Naughty Dog, who is the co-writer of Uncharted 4 and Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Will be working on this, as well as Nika Harper and Ray Johnston from Gizmodo. So these and all sorts of other people. You can see everybody on their website and a really big support from the local community and the international community alike. So check it out.
Super good idea. I mean, given how many people use video games for escapism when they have hard stuff going on in their lives, I think it's wholly appropriate for this to be a way to present that stuff. So
yeah, you've got to make the information easier to get. If one of the biggest things affecting people with mental health is that they don't seek help or they don't feel they can, just making it easier is just a really simple way and a really kind of elegant approach to a very complex problem. So it's good. So we'll keep checking up on that as checkpoint to see how they're going with that. But they seem to be going pretty well. I mean, halfway through, and they're around about halfway through their funding. So check it out if that is something that interests you, or if you are not able for whatever reason to fund it, perhaps you could signal boost it and just retweet or share with your network of people who might be interested. You never know who you might help with these things. Now, the last news item is a little bit exciting, and I will throw to Jam for this one because she is the one who has brought it to the newsroom, quote unquote. There is a new game from Perth.
Yay! I was so excited to hear about this. So a teaser trailer dropped earlier today, Australia time, for a new Battlestar Galactica game. It's called Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. And the reason I'm so excited is because one of my brothers, best friends, is working on it. He's been itching to talk to us about it for months and months and months. It's coming out of a little dev here in Perth called Black Lab Games. They produced Starhammer previously, and that was a space combat game, and I'm guessing that drew someone's attention because now they're working on this awesome-looking Battlestar Galactica.
Just a little franchise that you might have heard of, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, there's not a lot of information. The ad says out summer 2017, which I assume means in a few months, which will be winter here in Australia.
Wow, that's super soon.
And more to come, but it's so exciting to hear about this game coming out of Perth.
So,
Go Perth.
So, Jam, I hope you're booking some interviews for us for when this comes up to release time.
We'll try my hardest. I mean, he's been so desperate to talk to us about it for so long. I'll be like, just jump online, come talk to us.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's
cool.
Neat.
They must have been bursting to announce it this morning, I'm sure.
I know, and it's
super
it's
proud
cool
of our
because
little Perth.
It's sort of a it's set before the television series, before the Cylons took off, and it's about sort of working on your resources and defences.
Okay, so maybe just during the first Cylon War.
Yeah, I was about to say first Cylon War then.
Yeah.
So 3D strategy game. That just sounds really interesting. I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to play that board game again soon, Jam.
I know, so much fun.
Super need to do that.
But the second I find out that I'm not a Cylon, I'm just like, I'm over it.
I just always assume that you are. It's the safe way to go. Anyway, all right, so we're going to kick into tonight's main topic, and it's something we haven't done for a little while. So we're going to jump in the time machine and have a bit of a party playback.
Ever get that feeling of deja vu?
Great Scott! And it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
So tonight we're going to focus on the year 2007, so a nice, neat decade ago. So now just to put everybody in the frame of mind for what was going on 10 years ago, we'll just put a bit of perspective around this. So you might remember 2007 as being the year that Steve Jobs actually announced the release of the very, very first iPhone. So that was a big thing that happened back then.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, big year. We had, finally had a movie for The Simpsons and Transformers. And unfortunately, we saw the film for Spider-Man 3 where Tobey Maguire and Topher Grace could not save that monstrosity.
I did not.
Holy shit, that was oh, God. Anyway.
I regret everything.
Yeah, it was super,
He has such
super
a
bad.
cool name.
Who, Topher Grace?
Topher Grace,
Yeah.
yeah. I love saying his name.
Unfortunately, his portrayal of Venom was anything but graceful, but yeah. We also had J.K. Rowling finished work on the final Harry Potter novel. So Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was finished early that year and then came out later on. And that was a really, really interesting week. People lining up around bookstores around the world for that launch.
It was huge.
Mr. Rupert Murdoch bought the Wall Street Journal, so some big business stuff going on. We also had the infamous Writers Guild of America strike, which you all may remember had a fairly big impact on a lot of the TV series of the time. Yep, so that was kicked off in 2007. We also had the debut of one of my favourite TV series of the last decade, Mad Men. That was a big thing around that time. And
shit, that was 2007.
Yeah, it was a while ago. So, lots of big things going on. And we also had a fair bit of stuff going on in video games, which is what we're going to focus on tonight. So 2007, as it turns out, because we were going through the list of games before, pretty big year. There's some fairly massive names on this list. So, yeah.
Yep.
So what were you guys all doing in 2007? 2007 was a very, very special year for me because it was actually the year that I ended my my 9-year career with Games Workshop, and I got married that year, guys. So that was a pretty...
Wow.
You left Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Got married.
And got married, yeah. The two were not necessarily related. It just happened
was a
to
condition.
happen at that time.
It was
Yeah.
a condition of the marriage.
That's it. I mean, what are you guys doing? I know that, Ollie, you were probably enjoying your primary school graduation or something like that.
I was in uni, thank you very much, good sir.
Fair enough.
But thank you for reminding me of my youthfulness, old man.
That's it. And Mimo, I know you were probably sucked into the oblivion of World of Warcraft at the time. Sounds like...
Oh yeah, 2007. Good work, brain. 2007. Oh my goodness. 2007 was the year that I found Warcraft. So
That's a pretty massive one. I
was,
nearly got sucked in that year too, but I think
I
getting
did.
married actually saved me probably. So. Oh, God.
Wow, Lisa with the save.
Yeah.
good intercept.
That's it. Well, like in terms of the video game industry and sort of big things that were going on at the time, a couple of notable things in 2007. We had Microsoft actually announced the Games for Windows Live, which was sort of their Xbox Live version for the Windows platform. So, you know, there's a lot of games that have come on that since. Blizzard actually first announced StarCraft 2 in 2007. It didn't come out until later, but that was when it was first announced. So that was a pretty big bit of news at the time. There was also the split between Bungie and Microsoft. So Bungie actually split off and became an independent studio in 2007 as well. We also had, in terms of the major consoles at the time, it was a huge year for Nintendo because the Wii had just been launched at the end of 2006, and so that was really hitting its stride in 2007. Like a lot of interest in the Wii and the transformative way of interacting with games and the motion controls and that sort of thing. And it was, you know, right up there with the top selling consoles of the year. The DS was still rocketing along at a very good pace as well. And it was a big year for the PlayStation 3 as well, because similarly that had just been launched at the end of 2006, so a lot of momentum started happening with the PlayStation stuff that year too. So yeah, a bit of stuff going on. But let's get on to games, because I think that's the interesting thing we all want to chat about, and there's a bunch of titles from 2007. Jam and Ollie in particular, I think, have played a whole bunch of stuff from this era, so I'm really curious to...
You guys just suck.
Yeah. I was well and truly in the
Casual.
grips of my tabletop wargaming hobby at this point. So.
Filthy casual.
Imogen played a
So
lot,
was I.
but it's just
You
one
were too, yeah,
title.
but-
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
very focused.
Think about the amount of time that I had
I
spare
would-
when I was
I
getting
would-
married, though, man.
Yeah, and I would challenge you both and say that I probably played more hours of World of Warcraft than all of the time you guys spent playing games
That is
that year.
entirely
Probably fair.
possible.
Yeah.
Entirely true.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad now. Look back at the 2007, the year that was wasted.
Oh, no, not necessarily. It was a transformative year for you in different ways that didn't become apparent until much later. So let's just put it down
Yeah.
to that. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Ollie, kick us off. What's something big that you can draw back on from 2007?
Oh, this is probably one of the biggest ones, actually, was the release of the Orange Box. So
Big year for Valve.
Valve released the Orange Box, which had not one, not two, but 3 all amazing games in it. So HalfLife 2 Episode 2, very good, very solid. People were looking forward to it. Team Fortress 2, the game that will spawn infinite hats and still going relatively strong today.
Overwatch? Question mark.
Well, it would be interesting to see if
Kind
we
of.
would have the same game now if it wasn't for that.
That's true.
And then Portal. So, you know, just 3 fairly small games from a little indie company.
You might have heard of them.
You may have heard of them. So yeah, they were a pretty big deal. I played all 3, loved all 3. Wouldn't mind going back to TF2, but But Portal was
See?
great. Half-Life 2 was great.
Yeah, I got it. I played Portal. I booted Team Fortress 2, and I went back to Portal. Tried a little bit of Half-Life. Hadn't played the others. Went back to Portal. Even though it was really
Yes.
short, I was just, oh my god, that game.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
Portal
I
sounds more like your game, Jam.
It was just
really
so
is.
delightful. Like, it was short, but it was so unexpected. And then just the attitude of GLaDOS and that song at the end, my god. So yeah, very fond memories.
Yeah, I smashed out those 2 games, loved them both, and then sunk a lot of hours into TF2. A lot of hours.
Now, you have to refresh my memory a little bit here because I, being the heathen that I am, completely missed the Orange Box at the time because I wasn't doing a huge amount of PC gaming that year. But the Orange Box, was that actually the first published instance of those games, like especially Portal, or did they release separately first?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, they were released initially in that box.
What a strange distribution situation where there was such big titles in that one package.
Well, Portal was
they
like a little
weren't, though.
testing thing. Portal
True.
was a side effect of a weapon idea in Half-Life that they just turned into this little, here's a bonus, and it took off, and it was so good.
Just become revolutionary now to look back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only one that I would consider a big release out of that was the episode 2 for Half-Life 2. TF2, everyone was like, Team Fortress, sweet. That was a little mod for Half-Life. This should be fun. And Portal, everyone was like, what's this? So, yeah, it was... Because it was Valve and it had Half-Life on it, everyone was like, oh, shit, yeah, that's awesome. But, yeah, those titles were not big back then. And only once they got launched, people went, oh, wow, these are all amazing. Did it actually take off?
Interesting. I have to wonder whether Team Fortress 2 and Portal would have gotten the head start they did if they hadn't have been part of that package then. I mean, I'm sure that eventually people would have cottoned onto them, but would it have been the same success story?
Not necessarily. I mean, at the time, I don't know how Portal would have been released. It's a rather short game. Yeah, it was very different.
And Steam, of course, wouldn't have existed in the same form that it does now. That would have been...
No. I don't think it did exist.
Well, there you go.
Oh, wow, I'm an idiot. That actually included Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 1 Episode 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Interesting.
I don't remember. Too long ago.
I didn't tick for me because I'd played them before that point. But
okay.
So a big combined package of Half-Life and other Valve goodness, essentially.
So all the Half-Life. Yeah, that was good times.
Nice. Well, I mean, Prey's been a big sort of topic on the show the last couple of weeks, but, one of the things that I referenced quite consistently last week when we talked about the game was its callbacks to some of the original titles like Bioshock. So, and 2007 was the release of the original Bioshock as well. So, you guys both played that at the time, didn't you?
Ollie, no one got my reference. I made a Would You Kindly reference last week, and they were just, silent. And you weren't there, and I was
sorry. I'm sorry.
Bioshock was special. I loved it. I can't remember if I actually played it that year or the following year, but goosebumps.
Would you say it had probably one of the most unique aesthetics that I've seen in a game up until that point?
Yes, it was glorious. It was just this wholly realized little world that was so very different to anything I'd seen. From the music to the artistry, not just the unique
Deco style,
theme.
you mean?
Yeah. They just packaged it so nicely and then added all this super creepy shit. It was so good. It was so tense.
Yeah, that was it. The dichotomy between yay, old-timey fun stuff and look how cool this thing is, and then moments of actual genuine creepy and horror, and you're like, that's how that works. That's actually really gross and completely unethical.
And some of the what are they called? The power-ups that you get? I've forgotten the word.
Plasmoids?
Is that it?
No, that sounds wrong to me. Oh god, it's happening.
We failed.
God, mutagens. I want to say they're mutagens.
Yes, mutagens. I think that's it.
Oh god, fucking plasmoids. Jesus Christ, yeah, it's mutagens.
Okay, yeah.
I think. Oh god.
Well, it is 10 years ago, guys. I think you can give it a slight pass.
I want to say it's mutagens.
there have been others since.
I want to say it's mutagens.
So creepy, bees coming out of your arm.
I feel really bad.
Oh,
the bees are amazing.
Oh my god. But so good.
No, it is plasmids. Plasmids and
Is
tonics.
Okay.
Fuck, why did I doubt myself?
Because I doubted you. Because, my memory is so reliable for this
It's
stuff.
true.
Yeah, amazing. And it's just, started a franchise of some rather incredible games.
All right, we'll flick it over to Mimo. Let her get her.
I don't know if she's
one
ready.
game in.
Don't know if she's ready. Mimo, are you prepared? You are not
I am
prepared.
not prepared. Good job, Luke. You even nailed the time in the story. So you didn't play World of Warcraft till when, Luke? When did you come into it?
I picked it up at Warlords, I think. Warlords of Draenor, just before that.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I
okay.
was super late.
Super late. World of Warcraft, The Burning Crusade. So not obviously vanilla WoW. The Burning Crusade was the first expansion to WoW. So it raised the level cap. Yeah. So
did not know that.
I knew about WoW. I had friends who played vanilla WoW, and they were all very excited. And it was when Burning Crusade came out that they were sort of telling me about the lore, and I got really invested into what they were saying about the story. And so this game that I previously looked at as just a bunch of people who go online to yell at each other became a game that actually had story and depth, and I could play as like a cow Tauren thing, which sounded really neat. So I enlisted a friend of mine. We just said, look, we've got a free weekend. Let's download this game and subscribe on Friday. And then suddenly it was 2008. So
Now, I will mention that I was actually hyper aware of Burning Crusade at this particular point. And this was actually a point of my gaming life where I very, very deliberately steered away from it because my addictive personality as it was, I knew that if I picked this game up at this point, that I would be exactly the same. Like, you would not see me again for like a couple of years. Yeah.
I caved day one. I was like, I want to be a blood elf.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
So it was the biggest call for most people. So the story is a little bit hazy in my head, but I will never forget the name Doom Lord Kazakh. He opened the portal and released the Burning Legion onto the world of Outland. So it increased the level cap from 60 to 70, introduced 2 new races, one for the Alliance and one for the Horde, being the Draenei for the Alliance and the Blood Elves for the Horde. Yeah. And the biggest draw for vanilla WoW players, if they had disengaged with the game, to come back was the ability to play a high elf race, but as a Horde. So previously, elves had only been an Alliance race, and obviously quite a popular race because they're very lithe and very pretty, and the ears and everything. But in the way that the story works in the Warcraft world, the Blood Elves have turned, having destroyed the power of their magic in previous wars. Some of them turned to fell magic to supplement this, and therefore became the Blood Elves and became corrupted. And they were cool as shit. There was everybody played a Blood Elf at the beginning of Burning Crusade,
my first character was a
Imogen.
Blood Elf.
I am not surprised. And I mean, one person put it ever so eloquently, and I can't remember who it was. It was another gaming podcaster who said, look, if I have to watch somebody else's butt all day, it might as well be a female butt. Obviously doesn't apply to me.
Jack from Achievement Hunter.
Well, that makes sense. I do watch an awful lot of Jack from Achievement Hunter. So yes, of course, because he always plays female characters in their games. Yeah. So yes, I chose to play Tauren. I didn't do any of the sort of end quest stuff, and what Luke was referring to, you will not be prepared, is that this is the first major iteration of Illidan within the world of Warcraft. So he obviously exists in the world in Warcraft, but this is his first sort of major introduction into the world. And people like, tell me if you've heard of these people before, Luke. Maeve Stormstrong? Stormwind.
Shadowsong? Yep.
And Kael'thas. All of these people were major players in the Burning Crusade, either ruined lieutenants of him or helping him out in some way, or helping the Alliance, strangely enough. I don't know many people who played Draenei.
Fun fact, Illidan Stormrage, up until 2 days ago, was the only gold legendary Hearthstone card that I owned. So,
well, there you go.
Yep.
So yeah, you playing Hearthstone, a lot of the characters in Hearthstone are vanilla and Burning Crusade sort of heroes from the very beginning of WoW. It was really great. Back then, PvP and Arena was only just being introduced, whereas now that's quite a large part of the world of Warcraft and what it is today. It saw a bit of resurgence. It kind of came out of the dark a little bit. It used to be just, one for the MMO fans. Burning Crusade, I feel, really brought it into, now maybe everyone can play this. And that really was the really big takeoff in subscriptions. And you saw a lot of news about people playing for 24 hours straight. And
Mimo was one of them.
It was peak controversy for WoW in general, I think. And that was a large part of the turn-off for a number of people. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'd always played video games. So like I said, I dabbled, played things like Stronghold and those types of things, but it was never something I really, spoke about. But I think World of Warcraft became very quickly, I had to kind of tell people that I wasn't shutting myself into my house, that I was actually playing it. I still hid the fact that it was World of Warcraft, but I did tell more people in 2007 that I played games. Yeah. A little more. I mean, a small amount of people.
Having come to WoW quite late, I obviously didn't experience all of this at the same time that you did, but I have since played through all of the Burning Crusade story content, like all the quest material, and the size of this expansion was staggering. Like, it was incredible what they did by adding like virtually an entire world to the map. So
a couple of years after vanilla, so I think the idea of the expansion, I mean, now when we get WoW expansions, you go, okay, so it's a level cap and it's this, and people who play or have played in the past know what to expect. The Burning Crusade, like I said, was this, no one knew what this meant. I mean, patches were a thing, obviously, but certainly not by what they are in these days. I mean, 2007 is 10 years ago. Video games didn't really release content like this readily available. And I mean, it was the purchase cost of almost an entirely new game to buy it. This was also their first sort of foray into, you can play World of Warcraft vanilla up to a point for free. Then, you'd have to pay for Burning Crusade. And so this is where it took a bit of a turn, but it also took off in a big way. Yeah. Leading up to sort of Lich King and everything else. But the story was really cool, and it drew in a lot of the story is Warcraft 3 follow-on.
Yeah.
So it brought in a lot of the strategy gamers as well. Anyway,
nice.
I've banged on enough about World of Warcraft.
Oh, look, it's a fairly significant one for the year, so I think it's probably good to give it its due. Now, other sort of significant titles, Nintendo having a pretty big year as it was, we did actually see a fairly massive Legend of Zelda game released in 2007 in the form of the Phantom Hourglass. So this, of course, was a Nintendo DS title, which is a big thing. It was a couple of the reasons why this game was very, very big at the time. First, because it was actually the first big Zelda game on DS, so that was notable in its own right. But also, it was actually a direct sequel story-wise to another Zelda title, which is a fairly uncommon thing in The Legend of Zelda, as we've sort of discussed in the past. Like, a lot of the stories for the various Zelda titles don't necessarily link real well together. But this one actually follows on from The Wind Waker. So it's basically Link goes on a journey to save his friend Tetra from the story's villain, which is a new character by the name of Bellum. And you're actually on a ship for a good part of the story called the SS Linebeck. It's a different kind of setup for a Legend of Zelda game. But yeah, very, very, very well received. Like, it got rave reviews when it came out, and it was a bit of a different aesthetic for the game in general. I have actually only just recently acquired this game because I was given it as a gift from a good friend of ours. So thanks for that, Mark. I will play that one very soon. So if you had a DS and you didn't have Phantom Hourglass, then you're probably missing out at the time because it was a good one. On the same train with Nintendo, we also, of course, had the release of the Mario game of that era, which was Super Mario Galaxy on the Nintendo Wii. Now, I think that it's actually kind of surprising, given that we're all such, game nerds, and, we're all Mario enthusiasts of a different sort of nature for various different Mario titles. None of us have played this one, have we? I don't think any of us have.
Nope.
No.
Super
No,
weird.
I remember someone having the game, but yeah, no, I never put a lot of time into it, so...
Yeah. Well, it's, it wasn't the first 3D Mario game. It was actually the third one. But, it was the first Wii one. And this one was, the theme of the game, as per the title, was that the levels in the game were different galaxies filled with minor planets and worlds. And, they had different variations of gravity, which was kind of like the big gameplay element throughout this particular title. So, yeah, I would like to play it at some point. I think I'll probably try and acquire that one way or another. But, being on the Wii, Nintendo having a weird sort of, look at some of their previous game porting. Who knows what that is going to look like in years to come. Hopefully it comes to the Switch as like a port. We'll see if that sort of pays out. But yeah. Ollie, tell us about this next one, because I really don't know anything. So I'm curious as hell.
Oh,
yeah.
For me, this is... Okay, this might not have been a big thing for everyone else, but this was a huge one for me. So back in the day, I loved a strategy game called Total Annihilation.
Oh, yes.
Which was an RTS where you played as robots, and it was great. And Supreme Commander was the follow-up. Oh. So it was the 3D engine follow-up to Total Annihilation. And it was glorious. It was great fun, smashing armies of robots into each other in full 3D glory. It was just the best. And then I fell fall over in a catatonic state because it was so wonderful. This is one of the games that as an RTS player, I am surprised Mimo hasn't checked out to some degree.
Well, it came out in the year of the Burning Crusade, so I don't know where your surprise comes from.
She out.
That's
She
that's
out.
fair. That's fair. But yeah, it was overwhelmingly positively received. The scale of it was just, for its time, just gorgeous. Like, having so many units on the screen. Like, you look at Total War and you're like, cool, you've got like lots of little men. This one, if I showed you a screenshot, here's all these tiny spider robot things, and here's the giant ones, and they're versing an army of hovering ones that are shooting lasers. And it's just fantastic. Just fantastic. So that's my take on Supreme Commander. Play it. You could probably play it now and still love the shit out of it.
I was a huge Total Annihilation fan, so that actually does appeal to me quite a bit. I don't know how I managed to miss that one.
Play Supreme Commander 2 then.
Okay, cool. We'll check that out. Nice. Well, one game that I certainly was checking out at the time was part of my favourite Nintendo series of all time, which is, of course, Metroid. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption came out in 2007. So for those of you who aren't super Metroid buffs, you may remember this one as, obviously Metroid Prime was a trilogy of games, and this one kind of closed out that trilogy, and it was the first-person sort of action-adventure perspective, which is a little different to the old side-scrolling platformers of Metroid's yesteryear. But this one was the one which had Dark Samus. So there was like the antagonist was basically an evil version of, your main character, Samus Aran, who'd been corrupted by this weird sort of mutagenic material called Phazon, which is a big plot device in the game. It was kind of the MacGuffin that you were, seeking out and trying to defeat. So you were slowly, throughout the course of the game, you were trying to prevent the Phazon from spreading to other planets, and you were actually getting corrupted by it yourself. It was a super cool game. I don't know if I'd rate it above original Metroid Prime, because Metroid Prime 1 was just an awesome game. But yeah, it was received really well. So I would still be quite happy to go back and play that one. It was very cool. Yeah. All right. Well, big year for Microsoft and Bungie, and we mentioned before that Bungie, of course, split off and became an independent studio, and that's relevant given one of the big releases of this year, which of course was what, guys?
Halo 3. I spent so many hours in Sandtrap. So many hours flipping elephants. That was a good game. That was fun. Ollie, do you have fun thoughts?
I was just waiting for a bit more, but that was a good talk.
Well, my memories of it are of the interactions I had online in multiplayer. Like we played with some American, what sounded like kids, and we were discussing drop bears and convincing them we had sand sharks and just good times. Such good times.
Nice.
See, I played it for the story because I really liked the Halo story, and so yeah, having that story's like pseudo wrap up at the time, I was like, oh,
now
this is cool.
This was the last sort of big story arc with the Covenant, wasn't it? Am I right about that?
Yeah, and the Prophet?
Ish, yeah, yeah. So
I don't remember.
No spoilers. It's Halo 3. Play it. It's great. It's a good game. My reviews are very biased because a lot of these games were actually amazing. Actually, can I just say, this year in general, just a good year for solid games. Like, there was not a lot of big games released that were shit that I can remember in this year. Yeah. Like, a lot of them might not have been the best thing ever since sliced bread, but they're all overall pretty freaking good. So if I sound very samey,
a big thing this year too is that it was the starting year for a lot of big franchises that we've seen a lot of sequels for.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed. I mean, extraordinary new IP that stunned everyone. It had problems. It was super repetitive. But I remember going into the city and going into the city for the first time and just being so completely floored at how big it was and how much there was to see. And the parkour mechanics were unexpectedly good, and it looked good. And they marketed it really well. That was really exciting. And yeah.
The game came out of left field.
I remember seeing this game being played by your brother at your place one time, Jam, and I was sitting back and watching him and just thinking, holy crap, this looks good. So
yeah, and he makes it look easy. But yeah, it's just stunning. The fighting mechanics, the stealth, it was very well done for its time, for all its flaws. And then they just improved on the formula with the next. They took all of the feedback on and took what worked and made it better. So that was good fun.
So another big franchise starter that, of course, graced your screen as well would be the first Uncharted, Drake's Fortune.
Yes, yes. I don't remember a lot of detail. I mean, that was a very linear game, like a lot of the Uncharted was until somewhat recently. But I think that's the first game that I played with truly superb voice acting. It's the first time I've heard of Nolan North. And I was, very impressed with the characterization in the game. And just, I don't know, the language, the dialogue, it all felt genuine to me at the time. For 10 years ago. That was good fun.
And they've certainly built on that with subsequent titles, and Uncharted 4, some of the best story and voice acting that I've seen in quite a while was, I think you're right, like Nolan North, it really became a name following on from games like the first Uncharted.
That's
rightly so, ones. To be fair.
And then suddenly he was everywhere.
Absolutely.
Voicing everything.
Yeah. These days, you can't see many games without, there's a certain set of names that pop up everywhere. You got your Troy Bakers, you got your Nolan Norths, Matt Mercer's popping up left, right, and centre these days. It's good though. It's good. They've got enough diversity that you're not hearing the same sort of performances game after game, which is good.
Oh yeah, it's always impressive when you don't recognise that it's them, and then you see a credit and you go, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Like I had no idea. You sounded completely different.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of good voice acting, because there was quite a bit of it in this game, and some pretty notable ones that we have loved for many, many years after the fact. Of course, 2007 was the release of the very, very first Mass Effect. So, now I feel like I don't have any right to talk about this particular game at this juncture because I got introduced to the series by Jam many, many years later. But you two...
Well, I didn't play it until Mass Effect 2 came out.
There you go.
So I also somehow missed this, although I do recall our friend Dave saying, this is something you should play. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't believe you and I don't have faith in your opinion. But
wow.
No, just at the time, it was just like, okay. And, move on with my probably Assassin's Creed. But holy crap, was I amazed when I did finally pick it up, and then so excited because Mass Effect 2 had just come out. I played them back to back.
Well, I think one of the big appeals
and that was just the best.
One of the big appeals of Mass Effect sort of comes to the light when Mass Effect 2 is actually out, though, which is that you understand without even starting Mass Effect 2 that some of the decisions you make in the first Mass Effect game are going to have a massive impact on the way that you play the second one. And I don't know if that was really one of the major selling points at that time, because the second game, of course, wasn't out yet, so it only became a big talking point years after the fact.
See, for me, it was introduced along the lines by my mate Chris going, Ollie, you remember how you really liked Knights of the Old Republic? I'm like, yeah, it was a good game. Yeah, this game's probably better. And I was like, all right, that's a good selling point. I'll try it now.
That is fair.
And it wasn't better. It was equivalent. There were flaws, but yeah, goddamn that inventory system. Holy shit.
Certainly does.
Yeah, no, this game for me was...
Exploring the planets.
It
moons.
was just nice and fresh. Yeah, but for the most part, I enjoyed this game. I feel for me personally, Mass Effect 2 is where this series really hit off for me, but this one did all the groundwork really well.
Yeah,
it did. And it introduced some characters which now, when I revisit them in games, feel like best friends. Like, it was just the starting point.
Wingman Garrus.
Garrus, my bro.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss Garrus.
It created the universe, and that really was what everything built off of after the fact. So all of the bits of
Jennifer
lore.
Hale, her voice acting. She just took charge.
Super good. All right. Well, what about another game that we actually spoke a little bit about in the frame of the Netflix series tonight? Ollie, Witcher came out in 2007.
It saddens me that I'm the only name next to this title.
Well, for now.
I watched my brother play, so I've seen some of it, but I never actually played the first.
Yeah,
Terrible.
The first one was... Okay, the first Witcher game for me was a very big eye-opener. So before that, Knights of the Old Republic had done a little bit of that sort of grey, not everything's black and white storytelling aspect. Witcher was the first really, I'm going to say, mature game, if that makes sense. So it had very mature themes. It wasn't like trying to be nice, but it wasn't just like swearing and sex just for the hell of it. It did it with a purpose, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the storytelling was distinctly not aimed at teenagers. Like there was complex issues, there was racism, all the politics, all that sort of stuff was in there. And yeah, I was like, this is like one of the fantasy books that I read. This is amazing. Because games before this, for me personally, had been relatively light-hearted. I know there's been some dark games, and people are like, oh, but what about this game, and with all the brutal killing and stuff. But for me, this one sort of weaved all those like issues and aspects that you could see mirrored in real life. Like you could go, oh, that's like that thing that happened, or that's like this thing that happened, or this is going on right now that's really similar. And you're like, wow, that really sucks for that guy. Yeah. And so, yeah, the storytelling for me, I was just like, where did this come from?
Relatable context with fantasy story elements, yeah.
Relatable, mature context. So, yeah, it wasn't aimed at kiddies or anything like that. It was really, really cool. I liked it for that. The gameplay had its clunky moments, and some of the builds you could do were a bit overpowered because playtesting wasn't as extensive then. But, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. And just like Mass Effect 1, it set up so much good stuff. So much good stuff. And just the idea, and I think this is the big one for me, that apart from like the original sort of Forgotten Realms games like Baldur's Gate, that sort of thing, Planescape Torment, a lot of games, and I'm probably going to cop flack for this, but a lot of games didn't really do the research and setup of a fight very well. So you'd be like, yeah, I've got my guns, I've got my ammo, sweet, let's do this. Whereas in Witcher, it rewarded you for going, oh, so it's probably going to be this thing. All right, I'll go look up what they're weak against. All right, so I need to have some of this. Okay, I need to have some of this. I need to fight them at this time. All right, sweet. Go there, do all this right, own the shit out of them. Still a tough fight, but great. Don't do that. Get your ass handed to you. Like, I genuinely liked that it was a thinking man's game. For the most part. Obviously, at times there wasn't. But yeah, for the most part. I really liked The Witcher. It was a very fresh, brand new experience for me.
Well, speaking of a thinking man's game, we had, and by that I mean not necessarily, get some COD action into you. We had Call of Duty, one of the arguably the better entries in the series, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. So, who was a big fan of that?
Me! Shocking. Pew pew! Shooters! Pew pew!
Yeah. So,
I played, but I had more fun watching my brother play because he could actually play well.
Were you just a game voyeur in 2007?
For certain titles, yes. Definitely.
So, for me personally, I really like the single player campaign of this. Like, I have played the single player and the multiplayer of this game, and I genuinely found the single player infinitely better. Like, I really enjoyed the single player of this game.
Super popular multiplayer game, this one, though.
Oh, no, it was. Yeah. Like, the multiplayer wasn't bad. I just preferred the single player.
No, the campaign was quite highly regarded considering the previous iterations. So, yeah, it was good.
Was this the one that had the controversial level where you had to sort of play the role of the terrorist in an airport? Was that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Wait, was it?
I actually can't remember.
I'll Google.
Anyway, that's a look up for later.
There's definitely an airport. There's definitely an airplane scene.
I just remember it causing a bit of controversy, but that's all right.
No, that was Modern Warfare 2.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
This one had the start where you were like going towards an execution. This one also had the nuke explosion. Had a couple of really good memorable levels in it, and you were swapping between the British and the Americans, that sort of thing.
Nice.
It was quite fun.
Obviously regarded high enough for them to remaster it recently, so it's a good one.
Oh, look, if you haven't played it, genuinely, do yourself a favour, and if all you do is play the single-player campaign, it is worth it.
Nice.
Like, you can not even touch the multiplayer, and I would say this game is worth it.
Well, I think if Jam didn't play as much of this one, it's probably because she was too busy rocking out with her guitar in front of the console. Now you're more of a Guitar Hero girl, but Rock Band, the first Rock Band actually came out this year, of course. So, did you play any Rock Band at all, or did you sort of stick with your Guitar Heroes?
Some.
Yeah.
No, some. It's just by that stage, Guitar Hero had a bigger library, and I don't know, it was just sort of a little preferred. I think from memory, was Rock Band originally PlayStation only, or am I getting mixed up?
Maybe.
Because I had everything for the Xbox.
I would have to check. I mean, as with the
I can't remember.
games of this nature, I think the appeal usually is the song list that they choose to go with. So if you happen to identify with certain tracks more than what Guitar Hero was offering, perhaps, that could be a thing.
Yeah. That year, that year and the year or two either side, lot of guitaring. Great fun. With friends and family, just so much.
Yeah.
You've seen the results.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It really did sort of reinvent that kind of living room / party setup of people coming together and playing games like that. It was massive.
It was great. It was a little before they had the full band setups. So for the most part, good fun.
Well,
what a time.
One thing that I was having a bunch of good fun with, which is another pretty massive release this year, was the Pokemon titles of the era. So we had Diamond and Pearl released in 2007. Now, we could quite easily gloss over Pokemon titles whenever we do a party playback because there's virtually a Pokemon game coming out every year or two. But the reason why this one was quite significant is because it was actually the first titles of the DS generation, so utilizing proper Wi-Fi technology for doing all the trading and battling, which when you've played the Pokemon games throughout the old Game Boy era using your Game Boy Advances with the link cables and that kind of thing, this was really taking that kind of gaming to a new level socially. And I remember playing these games with a whole bunch of friends in the city, having battles and trading and all that sort of fun stuff, and they were actually genuinely good games. So yeah, anyone who's a big fan of modern era Pokemon, all of the content from Diamond and Pearl, of course, you can export to the games that are currently out now. There's sort of different ways of going about it, and you've got the the online Pokemon bank system now, which sort of helps with that. But mons that you captured in those games, you can still use right now, which, looking at it 10 years later, is a pretty remarkable thing. So there you go. It actually came out in Japan first, and technically, if we're going to go real technical, it was a 2006 release, but given that it came out in the majority of the world, like North America, Australia, the EU, in 2007, I think we can claim it as that year. So there you go. Now, we're running late, so we'll kick out one last one, and probably a big one to finish on. Ollie, tell us a bit about the game that was Crisis.
Okay, so Crisis was the essentially not follow-up sequel thing to Far Cry, in that it only had Cry in the name and was using the latest Cry engine, and it was made by the same guys. So this game for me was an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous corridor shooter where the corridors were about 1 kilometer across in the jungle. And it was, for its time, stunningly beautiful. Like,
oh yeah,
absolutely amazing looking. Like, the amount of effort that they put into this engine for its time. It was basically a tech demo. Let's be honest. It was a tech demo, and it did its job really well.
It benchmarks so many things. Does it run Crisis? That was just a thing.
Yeah.
Is your computer a monolith made by the dwarves of Middle-earth? No, you cannot run this on Max. Your computer will melt. Just so nice. Like, the gameplay was okay. You had a nano suit, you had different power-ups in it, and you could do different modes. You'd be like super strong, jump really high, or go super fast, or be super tough. And that was really neat. It added some nice tactical decisions and like variations in gameplay if you want to be sneaky, or if you want to do cool, just charge in Rambo style. So I enjoyed that. And then Aliens happened, and the gameplay went a little bit downhill. But it looked really pretty. It was super pretty.
Really
so
did.
It was like the model of computer games.
Nice. And we could probably wrap it there. 2007, what a freaking huge year. Holy crap.
I did a little bit of a research because I suspected as much, but it's probably that whole idea of new console hangover. So the Xbox 360 came out in 2005, but most notably the PlayStation, late 2005, the PlayStation 2, yes, that's right, or 3.
3 was out, 2 was still having games made for it, but not for much longer after that.
Yeah, so the PlayStation 3 came out late 2006. So that's probably all of these games are being developed for new consoles, new abilities, and also the settling in games for the 360. So now it's been out for a while. So people can establish sort of big titles and use the pretty engines available to them on the new console. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, good times. Nice. All right, well, let's call it a night there and wrap up. So, as per usual, if you've got any comments on the content that we've discussed tonight and any of the fun games of 2007, maybe what your favourites were and things that you remember from those fun times, drop us a line. So you can hit us up at mail@partyloaded.com. We're also on Facebook, of course. Just search for Party Loaded. You can get us on Twitter at Party Loaded Show. If you've enjoyed the content, again, please drop us a review. iTunes is a great place to do it. So if you happen to subscribe to the show there, leaving us a review on iTunes helps the show get the attention it hopefully deserves. And of course, you can check out our latest content on the YouTube at youtube.com/channelendgame. We've got some stuff going up there. So yeah, next week, guys, what's everyone going to be focusing on? I'll just kick off by saying that I managed this week to pick up a 90% off copy of Alan Wake before it disappeared from the Steam store. So I'm going to jump in and play a bit of that this week. It's supposed to be a pretty cool little video game, that one. So I feel like I missed it the first time around.
It's all right.
Yeah.
If you like Stephen King, you'll like this game.
I do.
Because holy shit, it jizzes all over Stephen King.
Nice. And if you're interested in playing this game and you haven't got it already, you probably missed out. Because it's not on sale.
So graphic, Ollie.
It's what the game does. You'll play it and see it immediately. Like, you'll get to the end of the game and be like, yeah, Ollie, you were right.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did pick it up, but I probably won't play it anytime soon. I just wanted to snap it up while it was super cheap and still, existing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably try really, really hard to do more Persona 5. I still haven't finished Horizon because Persona's just...
oh my god.
I'll get there.
You finished Mass Effect as well.
No, that one's waiting. The other two have got me in their grasp.
Yeah, it's probably a wise choice. Yeah. And Mimo, you going to give yourself a break? You going to play some stuffs?
No, I have an exam next week, so no time off for
We'll
me.
play games for you.
No, that's okay. And you're going to be leaving us to do the real life thing next week, so we'll catch up with you again shortly thereafter. So
yeah,
it'll be
see you in 2 weeks, team.
That's it. But all the best. Hope you do well. And in the meantime, we will get on with playing some games and get to bed for those of us who are mere mortals. So anyway, thank you again for listening. Enjoy your gaming, and for now, ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.